Welcome to episode freaking 200. How does it feel to have reached 200 episodes?
Pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, which I do have a question before we get started. Do you think that a reaction to a text is enough of a response, or do you also expect a response as well?
Depends on who you're talking to.
Really?
Yeah. I think that if
But like for you personally?
people responding to me,
No, like if you're talking to someone and you just give a reaction, are you like, okay, I've responded to that message?
if I'm talking to you, yeah, I think that if it's just like you're giving me a notification of something, fair. Or if it's a group text, I think that's fair to use the reaction. But if it is someone who you don't talk to on a regular basis and they send you like a question and then you just like thumbs it up, I think
Well, if
that's
they
a
send
problem.
a question, then like you have to answer the question. But if they're just sending something,
I don't know. I think if you don't talk to the person a whole lot, I feel like you need to send a little bit
I
more.
feel like a reaction is a response.
Okay.
Oh, I'm giving my thoughts on it. That's how I operate in all my messages, and it makes me so happy. And I was thinking this the other day on Slack because there was like 3 people who messaged me something, and I just thumbs up. I was like, great, don't have to, because then it's like, what am I going to respond? Great, thanks. And then it's going to be like, oh, that wasn't
That's what the
enough.
reaction's
And then
for.
it's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And same within any of my group messages or any of my text. I'm like, saw it, thumbs up, exclamation mark, smiley face, heart.
I'm with that. Yeah, if it's just replacing great, thank you, or thanks, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously someone's not asking me a question and then I'm like, thumbs up, good question.
Sometimes I do that just so that they know I've seen it because I don't have my read thing on.
Why does that matter if you're not going to answer it?
Because I can't answer it right that moment, but I want them to know I've at least seen it.
That would be more offensive to me.
Seriously?
I'd rather you be like, hey, saw this, can't get to it right now.
Okay. I
Than
mean,
just, unless there is someone who responds to me with like the eye emoji of saying like they're looking at it, but they haven't gotten a chance to respond. And like, that's okay with me because I understand.
okay. I'll use that moving forward.
Would you just like give it a thumbs up?
I don't know. I literally can only think of like 1 or 2 examples now that I've said it
Okay.
out loud.
Well, good to know.
And now it's sounding like I do it all the time.
You do it all the time. and
Do.
Do. Got you. Gotcha. The gigglers will get that one.
What an episode so far.
What an episode. Episode 200. We're just starting free and fresh and loose.
Fun and fresh.
Fun and fresh. 30, flirty, and thriving.
Not even 30 yet.
You are 30, flirty, and thriving. I can't speak today.
Speak much?
No, I can't.
I am 30. I'm not flirty,
You're
but I'm
not
thriving.
flirty?
Well, I'm flirty with you.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
I feel like flirty would insinuate very flirty with everyone. It wouldn't just be with one singular person.
I flirt with you.
Yeah.
I'm flirty.
You're 29 and flirty.
It doesn't have the same ring to it. Next year, I'll be 30. Flirty.
This year,
And
you'll
thriving.
be,
Oh,
30.
2025.
that's right.
We got it. Okay. Well, before we do get into it, since it is 2025, there's going to be 2 team members for us that reach 5 years this year.
Pretty awesome.
And that's kick-ass. Shout out Katie, who reaches it this month, and shout out Charlotte, who reaches it in August. We are jazzed.
Pretty awesome.
It's a very cool feeling.
It's an amazing feeling to have the coaches, be with us through the thick and the thin of all that's happened over the last 5 years of us literally figuring it out.
Figuring it all out.
Figuring it entirely out, having to give you guys some context of how we hired Katie. I literally called her and said, do you want to coach for physique development? I had no plan, no contract.
No.
It was just on a complete level of respect and a handshake of we're going to take good care of you and you're a great coach and I want you to be a part of this. You've trusted me as your coach for years at that point. And it has worked out mostly because of you.
Well, thank you. But Katie also rocks. So
Yes,
that
Katie
works.
too. I'm saying in terms of the structure for physique development.
We actually have a lot of people coming up on some fun milestones because even looking at the podcast, which reaching 200 episodes, that's something where we started back in 2020. So that's coming up on 4 years of the
That would
5
be
years,
5 years
of the podcast, which means David, podcast producer, shout out, will be reaching 5 years here soon
That's
too.
amazing.
So
3 people.
very exciting year.
That is awesome.
2025, which speaking of 2025, that leads us into the 200th episode, which is just going to be a little bit of a personal update, talking about things within training, nutrition, mindset, personal stuff,
There we go.
the good stuff.
Just a little update on Sue and Alex.
That sums it up.
What's the first question that we're going to give everybody?
What is one common training mistake that you've seen clients make coming into a new year, and how do you avoid it?
Training mistake. Gosh, as we have new people coming in, there's just a lot of mistakes of things that they're not doing well. Is it a training movement, or is it just their training in general?
However you want to interpret training mistake.
I think that if there was one overarching mistake, it is just either not having a real plan going in every day of like, this is the movement that I've been working on, and I'm working to increase the weight, and I'm working to just get stronger. And they're just kind of going in like, I'm training glutes and I'm training glutes again, and I'm picking random movements that the equipment's available type situation. So that would be one. And then the other would be that them not pushing themselves to the intensity that's necessary for the goal that they have, most often being muscle growth. And as they finally start to record themselves training, which a lot of them are not recording themselves training, they're seeing, oh my gosh, I have a lot more to give. And in my head, this was much harder, but I'm realizing now that I have a lot more to be able to put into this training.
Mm-hmm. The first two things that came to mind for me was one, moving through exercises too quickly, which kind of goes in line within not having the right intensity to a certain degree. But I find that, especially videos I've been looking at recently, it's just like moving through it way too quickly. And the other also kind of coincides with what you're saying of not having a plan, is like going in and trying to do too much because they don't have a plan, or they've made a plan and because they don't know exactly what to do, then they're just like, I'm going to do 8 or 10 exercises until I'm crawling out of this. So I know that I've like worked hard enough. So I feel like even though those are kind of on different sides of it, they still really hold true, and they can even be in the same place of someone moving way too quickly through a movement because they have way too many movements in their training. And then they're just like, I don't have time to get through all of this. And they're rushing through those.
Yes, the obsession with this is the amount of reps that I have to do, instead of how can I make this next rep as hard as possible? How can I create the most tension with the muscle group that I'm wanting to train? And moving with that intention relative to I have to get 12 reps, I have to get 15 reps, whatever it is going to help everyone's training tremendously.
Yeah. So I would say how to avoid that is by having a plan, having a coach, recording yourself training, and being able to analyze that, because that's going to give you a lot of the feedback from those things that we talked about.
Bingo, bango.
Bingo, bango. I was trying to think of what they used to say in Squid Games that you used to say all the time.
We have never watched an episode of Squid Games.
I know we've never watched it, but there's something that you were saying from it.
There's no shot I was saying anything about Squid Games because I've never seen it.
It wasn't ding dong, but bing bong. Was that from Squid Games?
Maybe somebody listening is going to be able to tell us, hey, this is what you guys are referring to with the Squid Games.
Okay, on to the next one. How has your personal training philosophy evolved over the past year, and what lessons are you bringing into 2025?
My training has evolved quite a bit over the last year because I incorporated far more cardiovascular work than I have in a very long time. And so my training had to evolve with that incorporation. And so I had maybe incorporated more planes of motion, working a little bit more laterally with my lower body training specifically, because within my lower body training up until this last year, it was a lot of just like, I'm squatting, I'm hinging, I'm doing the basics to grow as much muscle as I possibly can. And then as I started to try and function outside of just building muscle, I was like, okay, my body does not feel great. So I had to increase some differences within the exercise selection and how I went about the training. And I had a lot of different periods of training, especially as I led into my first half marathon, that I had to pull back on the training volume, the training intensity, just because I was not able to recover from the mileage that I had. And so kind of figuring that out within the training volume and intensity paired with the running volume was an interesting experiment on myself. And I look forward to doing a better job of that going into this new year.
I feel like you've also gotten better at warming up and mobility and stretching before you go into your training, which has been a big part of that too.
Far better.
I would say that for myself, it's changed not out of desire for it to change, but out of necessity for it to change, where most of 2023 and basically my whole training career before that, I was training 4 or 5 days a week for an hour. And that's something where within this past year, I didn't really have the capacity to be doing that. And so I have gone to 3 days a week. And a lot of my training sessions are around 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. I am very excited when I get 45 minutes in the gym. And so that also means with having less days and less time of a different way about going about training. We've done some different stuff within full body and different structures of it to still be able to maintain. Because that's the thing of I realized that, yes, you can grow with having 3 days a week, but likely not with having 20 minutes 3 days a week. And so my main goal through 2024 was just maintain my muscle mass. It was, how can I hold on to all of my muscle mass when stress is high, when I'm not training as frequently, and be able to keep my physique. And so that's kind of how we went about things and how I'm currently still going about things. I would really like for it to be between the 30 to 45 minute instead of the 20 to 30 minute, but we're going to get there and we're going to work towards that. And just kind of letting myself still have that for Q1 and then going into Q2 of reassessing what those goals look like.
I'm excited for you to be able to spend more time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that for you.
Why you say it like that?
I would hate having to only have 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I know for myself, it is the best thing for my mental health and my overall well-being for me to make the time to spend more time out there, even if that means other things have to be sacrificed a little bit. And so when I hear you with you only having 20 to 30 minutes, it makes me want more for you in that.
Well, there's only so much time to sacrifice in a day sometimes.
I understand.
So it's better than nothing. And that's something that is probably wraps up that training philosophy, is something is better than nothing. Or maybe past due, because I'm recovering perfectionist, would have been since I can't get in the full session, I might as well knock it out there.
Is that perfectionist or is that all or nothing? Or are they
kind of both.
One and the same?
I feel like they fall into the same.
Okay.
All right. Next question. What is your current meal prep strategy and how do you make it realistic with a busy schedule?
You can go ahead and take this.
Within meal prep, I think that this is something really important because also the next question we're going to talk about is if we're tracking our macros right now, and I'll just kind of lump these two together to a certain degree, is that through 2024, I really didn't track my macros consistently, but I was still able to first maintain my physique and my goals because of meal prep. And I think that people look at that separate of, if I'm not tracking my macros, then all the things that I was doing, I don't need to be doing anymore. And how I look at it is you still need to put forth effort. You just might not be opening up an app and tracking every single thing. And so with that, the way that I've been able to not track macros is by still having ingrained habits in place and still meal prepping and having that food prepared. Because the thing is, regardless of if you have a busy schedule or not, but especially if you have a busy schedule, you are not going to likely hit your goals if you do not make a plan for it and if you do not prepare. And I know if food is not ready, I will not eat it. And I will be in a place of being very overwhelmed by trying to make a decision on what to eat, especially when I'm in a rush, and then end up either not eating or choosing something that gets me further away from my goals. And so how we go about meal prep is by truly meal prepping things for the week and getting things set up. And people like to do this different ways. I know even one of our coaches, Mia, likes to prep individual things in bulk of having her protein in bulk, having her carbs in bulk, and doing it that way. What works best for us, and we used to do it that way, but at this time in our life, is having full meals prepped and ready to go. And I will make sure that the YouTube video is linked down below that shows how I meal prep our meals. But my saving grace has been
Vacuum sealer.
Vacuum sealer. I was doing the motion if anyone was watching, but a vacuum sealer because, if you have meal prepped of once it hits a few days old, it's like, is this even good anymore? And so how we go about that is I will meal prep things in bulk, vacuum seal them, put them in the freezer. And then as the week goes on, I'll pull out 3 or 4 meals for both of us, let those thaw just in the fridge. And then you can just pop them in the microwave, but and Alex likes them a little crispy. So we'll throw them onto the stove to heat them up. But it's also a saving grace of we've had some friends visit this year or last year, I guess. And it's been so easy because I don't have to be like, oh, I need to spend this extra time making food and getting all of this ready. A lot of them have just been like, oh, this meal sounds great. They eat it. They love it. They'll even ask for the recipe of how to make the meal. And so for us, it has been about bulk meal prepping meals and having them ready to go. And we will make like breakfast fresh each day and have that like made from scratch, so to speak, and not prepping something for it. But for our we have at least 2 meals that are meal prepped meals. And then the third meal is kind of a swing of, are we getting something to eat or are we having something like a Chobani shake and a Nash bar? What are we doing from there? But there's always 2 meals a day that we're eating meal prepped. And it is a saving grace. I literally just pull it out of the fridge, cut open the bag, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm doing the breakfast, as you said, the 2 meal prepped, and then I have the 2 snacks because getting to 220, 225 protein on 4 feedings is a little much. So splitting it into 5 is easiest. And generally that 1 is just a shake to get more protein in general.
Yeah. So it's been about having those meals ready and then having snacks, which we're all about the snicky snacks. But especially having things so easy to grab like the Nash bar and the Chobani shake. If I have them together, 40 grams of protein, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But even having them separate, they're 20 grams each, and that at least gets me something to tide over. And that's especially been helpful in moments where it's like, I don't have time to eat a full meal, but I'm likely going to eat in the next hour or 2. In the past, I would have been like, oh, I'll just wait to eat a full meal. Whereas like now I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to either have the shake or the bar to tide me over so that I'm not starving by the time I get to that meal, or now I'm not behind on food and then not going to hit my goals that I'm trying to hit. So it's something where while I haven't strictly been counting macros and like I don't have a streak in my Fitness Pal, I have been very conscientious of hitting a protein goal and being able to guesstimate where those calories are because they're meals that I'm familiar with.
One of the most common mistakes I see people make when they're not meal prepping and they are very busy and they are running around with their kids or they've got a crazy schedule within their work or potentially both, is that they'll go long stints throughout the day of not having any food and just thriving off of cortisol and caffeine, just like stress, more caffeine, running around, not thinking about food. All of a sudden, their brain is no longer functioning and they're dying for a meal. And then they hellaciously overconsume on a hyper calorie dense meal of sorts, whether it be something that's out and about or through snacks. And they're like, well, I didn't really eat much yesterday. And it's like, no, actually you had 3,000 calories off of 2 meals that were just terrible choices. And so then you're in this very vicious cycle of, in your head, you're not eating that much, but then the scale is going up and then you're only eating maybe twice a day, but then they're super dense meals because you're going too long of time between the meals themselves. And so having the meal prep in place is a tremendous help.
And it's something where, especially talking about being busy, of scheduling a time to eat. Like that's something that I see time and time again, is that you're starting your day and you're going about it and you're thinking, I'm just going to be able to eat at some point. But those are the days that I end up not eating for long, long stints, having poor energy, then being like, I'm too tired to go train, or I'm too tired to go get steps in. Oh, it's been such a long day. I should just sit here. I should eat something. I've barely eaten anything. And then it gets into that pattern. And oftentimes, again, it's a lot of food right before bed. You're going to bed. You haven't fully digested it. You wake up. You feel sluggish because you haven't digested it and you didn't sleep well because it was sitting in your stomach. panic, then the scale weight is up, you're already in a bad mentality, and then you go into the day and you're like, well, because I didn't digest that food, I'm not hungry, so now I'm not going to eat, and then I'm also not going to plan to eat as I go through the rest of the day. So even though I have, and I know Alex does as well, of like 10, 12, 14-hour days, I always have in my calendar when I am going to eat. Does it always perfectly work out that I eat during that time? No, but more often than not, because I have it in my calendar, I will end up eating something, and that sets me up for success.
You sound like you've helped people with that before.
Just a few. A few thousand.
I'll answer the question on the tracking macros. So I posted January 2nd on my Instagram a direct game plan of summer confidence and a structure to your nutrition intake for the beginning of the year, getting into the diet, and then having all the confidence going into summer, exactly how to structure all that out within your training and your nutrition. And so I'm following that specific protocol. And so right now I'm in a maintenance phase as I'm getting ready for some of my goals that go into 2025. And so I am tracking at the moment for a maintenance calories to ensure that I'm getting enough for recovery of my resistance training as well as my running.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Low reps is best.
High reps is best.
Fruit is so
It's
good.
terrible for you.
You should lift heavy.
High reps,
Carbs
low
are
weight.
needed.
Keto
Squats
for
are
life.
bad for your
Squats
knees.
are great
You
for
should
your knees.
squat
Knees over
astrograph.
toes.
It's fine. It fits my
Macros
macros.
is for idiots.
When there are so many mixed messages going around, it's hard to know what you should even do or focus on. But that's exactly where physique development one-on-one coaching comes in. You might have heard of online coaching or even hired a coach before, but we believe in teaching you the why behind what we do while truly taking your life into consideration. We want to train, educate, and empower you to reach your goals and help you to stop spinning your wheels and just finally feel good. And hey, we're here to help you look good too. You need you. Your health is your wealth. So join Physique Development and let us be the last coach you ever need. Do you have any running goals that you're going into 2025?
I do. I have the goal of running 2 more half marathons. The first one will be at the end of April. So big news.
Big news alert.
Breaking news.
I guess that's our new news alert.
Mine was better than yours.
Okay.
So it'll be April, I think it's April 26th is what I'm shooting for the first one. The second one hasn't been established yet because I've got to figure out what's going on in my life before I get into the second one. But the first one is game planned, and that kind of runs alongside the plan that I just spoke about with my post, is that kind of like wraps up the tail end of being in maintenance, and then that goes into the deficit. So it like works out perfectly with my plan to be as confident as I possibly can be to going into the summer.
Love to hear it. I do not have any marathons or half marathons planned for 2025. In case anyone was interested, big news.
Do you have any do you have any aspirations to run?
No.
0.
I mean, like, I get FOMO, but like that's not enough for me to do it. I just like I don't want to say like I'll never run because never say never. But I just have never found enjoyment from running.
That's understandable.
And so it's kind of like, for me, I'm like, why do it when I can just walk instead and enjoy that a lot? And I just like, I don't know. I just don't have the desire.
What about biking or swimming or something like that?
So I love swimming, but the issue is then your hair gets wet and then you have to wash your hair because then there's chlorine in it. And then it's like your skin gets so dried out from the chlorine. And I'm not afraid to admit that does put a wrench in my self-tanning and my hair wash schedule. And so that is something that I am aware of all in all. So I do like swimming, but that is a drawback from it. As far as biking, I do enjoy that. Once our bikes get fixed, then I am happy to bike, but I don't know if I would like road bike, like trail biking. Not like trails like through the wilderness, like a bike trail. I just want to like clarify that to people.
Have you thought about shaving your head?
Have I thought about shaving my head? I have a very bumpy skull. You have a nice round head.
Thank goodness.
I can't do that. I've got bumps and lumps, and there's this part of my head that's just like flat.
I mean, same. I feel like mine is fairly flat.
I mean,
in that
I've
spot,
seen
too.
your skull.
Yeah, I know. We've gotten a clear picture of what my head looks
Yeah,
like.
I have like this flat part. I have these bumps. So like, I don't think that that's a viable option at
Do
this
you know
point.
if you were dropped as a child?
Probably. That might explain some things.
We may need to ask Lori Strange what's
Yeah,
going on with that.
We might need to. Goodness gracious. So, how do you balance ambition with sustainability in your training and nutrition goals?
Man, I probably suck the most at this. My ambition will override my training and nutrition goals probably the most. I can very easily get sucked into a work window where I'm just obsessed with particular projects or particular things that I have going on, and we'll get into this trance, and then we'll be so miserable from a mental health standpoint that I'm like, oh, I haven't been training. I have not been eating well. I've got to get back to those things. And then I get back to them, and then we get back to a better state. But one of my goals in 2025 is to not get into, the overarching North Star goal, 0 trances in 2025. I will say that the more likely goal is less than what I had in 2024. Because I would say from 2024, 23, 22, 21, 20, I've had less every year.
I would agree with that.
Since then. I would say worst 2019. Probably 2020. 2018,
and
19, 2020. 2018 to 2021, basically. Probably the hardest stint of that.
Started with the worst year was this one. Actually, it was basically all the years.
I will have to, the disclaimer to that, a hellacious amount of change and growth for physique development in that time frame, that 4 years, going from very little clientele to an unbelievable amount of clientele in that 4 years, and like trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Like the systems at that time.
And a world pandemic happened, some life tragedies happened, a move, a lot happened during that time.
Yeah. So, just keeping those things in mind. But in the consecutive years, I've gotten better and better. So this year will be even better of me managing my ambitions.
What are you doing to make it better?
Just making the training a non-negotiable. I think that's the big thing, is that not allowing myself to take the time away or deprioritize myself.
Do you feel like past years you've also said that you're going to make it a non-negotiable?
Probably. I don't think that I had the strength of habits or the mental discipline that I do now. I think that my discipline has been forged much better within myself. I think my own intrinsic drive is far stronger than any of the years prior to this. And that's what's going to be the driver here. Do you feel like I need to have a stronger game plan?
No, I just am curious. I think that it's good to ask these questions because I think a lot of people, and especially people listening, be like, I'm going to do better this year. Yeah. And it's like, what does better mean and how are you going to do that? And that's where people get lost. I think that for you, obviously, I know you a lot more intimately. I know that you have improved, and 2024 was your best year of knowing those boundaries and knowing where you needed to pour into yourself. And I think that running was a huge help with that, of being able to still have physical activity without it just being you absolutely burying yourself in training and going the opposite direction. Because when you do go too long without training, then you again try to go the opposite direction, bury yourself, then you can't recover, then you're stuck again, not training as frequently as you want to. Yeah. But I think running helped that, of you're still able to do something physical and not feel like I haven't moved in all of these days, and not absolutely demolish yourself.
And I would say the other skill that I got significantly strengthened over 2024 was my willingness to just go out there and train for 30 minutes relative to trying to get in the full session. And I think my biggest disconnect previously was, one, I wasn't getting to progress my entire logbook, so that would irritate me and I wouldn't want to do that, which is so stupid. But the way that I've made peace with it is that in that 30 minutes, I'm not trying to have this like super fast session of getting all this work in. In the 30 minutes, I'm just getting all of the training from my designated training session done in that time, and that is what it is. And then I've just got to make a note of it going into the next week of training that I missed, the latter half of this session or whatever it was.
Yeah. I think that you've improved.
Thank you
and
so
I'm
much.
excited for 2025 for you.
Me too.
What I've realized and what I'm taking into 2025 is that your best is what you can do without harming your mental and physical health, not what you can do when you disregard it. And think that is very eye-opening to me. I used to think of, well, I can do this if I do push these things aside, but that doesn't actually mean that it's my best. And it's also something where I often think about, like, I will outwork anyone. And that's something where, they say when talent doesn't work, hard work, whatever it is, of like, I'm going to work hard no matter what. But what I find with a lot of people that want to work hard and want to outwork other people is they're running themselves into a wall. And what I've also realized is that I'm going to outwork everyone, I need to outlast everyone. And if I'm going to outlast everyone, I need to rest and recover. And that's something that has just poured into me time and time of like, if I want to have that ambition and if I want to actually achieve what I want to, that comes with balancing, still taking care of myself, which is the training and the nutrition. And that's something where people often ask me of like, how do you have such a high output? How do you have these crazy long days? And like, you're still able to do it. And the only reason I'm able to have the output that I do within work is because I take time for myself to train. I take time to make sure that I eat. And I think people gloss over that so often of like, I just need to work harder. And it's like, no, you need to be able to outlast. And the only way that you're going to do that is taking care of yourself. And so that's how I balance my ambition and sustainability, is knowing that to be able to have that ambition, I need the sustainability to outlast.
Yes. Maybe like to echo what you're saying is that if someone's just focusing on working as hard as possible, they're like pushing the gas like to the floor, and they're just flooring it, and they're expecting because of that they're going to get a further distance, but then the recoil of all that is actually just going to prolong the process of them actually getting to their end goal rather than the person who is just staying consistent.
Well, just also think about if you are running out of gas on the side of the highway, does it take more time to now call AAA or have to go and walk to an exit and get the gas and walk back to your car? Or would it have been faster just to pull over and grab the gas real quick when you needed it and get back on the highway?
You should have told yourself that.
I knew you were going to bring that up. Yep, I did run out of gas on the highway and had to sit there for hours waiting for AAA.
Just learning through experience, you know?
Yeah, but I'm better now.
This is true.
So, awesome. What's the biggest challenge you faced so far this year, and how are you working to overcome it? Now, we're only 7 days into the new year, but what's the biggest challenge you've faced in the past week?
I would say the winter storm that we're in right now. This snow has got everybody inside. We woke up this morning and it said it felt like 2 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. That would be quite the challenge.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Getting outside. And so I would say the winter weather as well as the lack of sunlight. And so we'll start with the lack of sunlight, because I think this is the massive one for people, where working with artificial light is going to be such a big help of just getting bright lights on in the morning, and then maintaining lights throughout your house and like into the evening, and then starting to dim the lights or bring the lights down in general as you're starting to get ready for bed, so that you're more in control of your circadian rhythm and you're not depending on the sunlight to be the dictator of that. Because if you are going to continue to rely on natural sunlight, you're going to have a really small period of your day where your body's like, it's time to do things. And you're realizing like, I want to stay in bed longer. I want to go to bed earlier. It's like, well, that's what your body is getting feedback from the lack of sunlight that you have. And so you've got to do some things on your side to set yourself up better. When it comes to the weather and the winter storm, bundle up, bundle up and get you some, what are they called? Bibs. Get you some bibs, get you a great jacket, get you some great gloves, get you a baklava. Balaclava.
I heard it both ways.
Whatever. I think that that's the most helpful thing is just still bundling up, still getting outside, even though it's not the most enjoyable. And you may look ridiculous being outside. And I'm sure that our neighbors here are just like, those psychos are still outside and they're so bundled up. But I'm telling you, I feel a whole hell of a lot better by still just getting outside and getting the steps in.
Yes. And that's something where this is big news coming from Alex, because just a few years ago, he was like, the winter sucks. I hate everything and I won't get outside. And I really pushed forward of like, it doesn't suck as bad if you just have the appropriate layers on so that your shoulders aren't up in your ears, and then you get even more cold and your back hurts, and then you're not shivering the whole time. If you can have the layers, then it's so much more enjoyable. And even on Sunday, it was like 10 degrees outside, and we bundled up, went on our walk. And truthfully, I was like, I'm freezing, but I feel so much better now that I got outside and I got some fresh air, because staying inside 24/7 in the winter can make you go a little mad.
A little crazy.
Yeah.
A little crazy.
Still get outside.
Perfect.
Do your thing. Another thing that I've done with that is a walking pad has been a huge, huge help for me, especially within being busy. Of like yesterday, I had 10 calls or meetings throughout the day, and they were all back to back. My schedule all built out, and there would be like a 5-minute break where it's like I couldn't have put on layers, gone outside and gone on a walk in that time frame. And so I could just pop over to my walking pad, walk for a few minutes, even if it was 2 or 3, and then get back to my desk. And I ended the day with like 9,500 steps, where I literally was at my desk the entire day. So that's something where it's a little helpful if you can't get outside every time.
Bingo. Are you sick and tired of your glutes not growing, turning around in the mirror and seeing a board for a booty? I've been coaching for nearly a decade, helping thousands of women reach their goals. The most common goal? Grow my glutes. Women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s able to grow their glutes with the guidance of my training programs. And for all this time, I've kept my best glute growth secrets only for my one-on-one clients. And that changes today. We just released our 12-week glute growth program in the PD training app. It is a 4-day program with exercise and volume adjustments every 3 weeks. You can easily access the program through our app and track every single workout. Each exercise will have a detailed video teaching you exactly how to perform each and every movement. And guess what? I am no longer gatekeeping. I'm sharing every single one of my best glute growth secrets inside this program. Because you are awesome and I want you to have this program, I'm going to give you $25 off, making it a fraction of what you spent at Starbucks this past month. Use code POD. The link to purchase will be in the description. Now let's get back to the show.
All right. What is your favorite meal or snack in your current plan? And can you share why you love it?
I do not have anything fancy here. I've shared this a bunch on the podcast, but my favorite snack right now is going to be a Nash bar and a Chobani shake. Now, the one thing that well, all right. I'm sure that anyone listening with headphones right now is like, I despise this and I've turned this off already.
Or like, can she do sound effects for me too?
No. I've seen people post that Chobani has a 30-gram protein shake now. It's just a bigger. But we have not been blessed with that at our Kroger. So until that gets here, I'm still on the 20-gram Chobani shake for the time being. There's other snacks that I'm loving on right now that I have no idea the name. Sue puts them in the cabinet and I enjoy the deliciousness of them. Oh. JoJo's. Which?
I will be doing my 2024 snack roundup here soon. I know I'm a little bit delayed. There's been some craziness going on, but some snacks just snuck in at the very, very end of 2024. And I'm so excited to talk about them, but JoJo's are one of them.
Bro, JoJo's. I'm so angry that there have been 29 years of my life that I have not enjoyed this delicious snack.
Oh my gosh.
It is so superior. Actually, I don't even know if you guys want to try it.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to constantly have it. It's going to be hard to put down.
There's We literally take one out, close the bag, put it away, and then we're walking right back over.
They're banging.
They're so good. They're chocolate squares. So they have multiple different things. Again, I'll be going about this in depth with pictures on my snack roundup, but we got it from my brother for Christmas as a stocking stuffer because he had an alert on for things that had pistachio and were dairy free for me because he knows I love the pistache. And these are like chocolate squares that are vegan. And then they have pistachio, cranberries, almonds. I think that's it on it.
Sure.
And they're so good. And they're these little squares of chocolate. They have different flavors, which I will talk about some more. And then they even have chocolate covered pretzels, which are hot fire too. But they're so good.
Yeah, the founder story is actually pretty cool. And I'm sure you'll go over that in your
Snack
2024
roundup.
snack roundup. If you guys have seen her 2023 snack roundup, which
we'll
was
have
your
that linked below.
most watched loom
My
of
most
20
watched loom.
whatever of 2024. Pretty
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. So my favorite, I have multiple favorites right now. We have recently been graced with a sourdough plug.
Oh, yeah.
So we have been on the sourdough train where most of you know that we have strictly eaten pancakes for breakfast for the past 3 or 4 years. Now we're kind of switching between either doing pancakes or doing some sourdough and eggs. Still have the hash brown and bacon, of course. That's not going anywhere. So sourdough has been a very welcome addition. The JoJo's, of course. And then something that's been a favorite for a while are sour giggles, which are like sour Skittles, but way better. And then obviously Nash Bar, Chobani Shake. I guess I'll leave the rest of the snacks for the roundup because otherwise we'll be here all day. But love me a good snack.
Yeah, I think that 2023 roundup is like an hour long.
It's 40 minutes, yeah.
That's a lot of snacks.
But I go over like 50 or 60 snacks. And then
50 or 60 snacks?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I went through every snack that I tried in 2023.
Oh my, 50 or 60
Have you not
snacks?
watched it?
I've seen clips, I guess.
Wow, rude. But I go through and I rank it of like, these are holy grails.
You tried 50 or 60 snacks?
Yeah.
You're a dog, bro.
I mean, I'm just here for the people.
You are.
I am here to spread the snacks, okay?
Wow, 50 or 60. I didn't even know we had that many snacks.
Yeah. Well, if you watch the video, then you'll know what snacks I'm talking about.
How many do you think you tried this year?
I don't know. That's why I need to gather the intel.
Come on.
Takes.
If you're for the people, it's 7 days into 2025 and you're talking about a 2024 roundup?
Okay. For the people, first, again, they would have missed out on some of the snacks for Christmas if I tried to put it out too early. Second of all, this takes research. This takes me diving in, making sure I've gotten all of the details about everything so I can talk about it. It's very in-depth. I mean, it's not for the weak-minded to watch this.
I love it.
I mean, I want to give you all of the information so you can make the best decision for getting the absolute best snacks because I'm extremely passionate about snacks. And I want to make it very clear. These aren't just snacks that are good for a healthy snack or like good for being good for you. No, these are good fucking snacks, period. Exclamation mark, mic drop.
Maybe I green screen it and then give my own ratings on top of your loom.
Maybe.
So it forces me to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I make my own content off of it.
Yeah. Maybe you should finally watch my video a year plus later.
Listen, I watched your TikTok that was reviewing your books.
Yeah.
And I gave you a full synopsis.
One book.
Well, one book that
one
turned
series
into, yeah.
Is a 5-minute video.
Okay. I watched it.
Yeah.
I'm
and
very
you learned
supportive.
a lot.
I did. And I recited all of it back to you.
Most of it.
All of it.
Most of it.
Okay.
All right. How do you and your partner, aka me, hold each other accountable in your fitness journeys while still having fun?
How do we still have fun?
I don't know.
We work together. We spend.
We live together.
I know. It's crazy how that works.
We're married.
We spend all this time together. How do we make it fun?
I don't know. It's been 7 years, so we're probably tired of each other now. That 7-year itch.
What did you call it? The itch?
7-year itch.
I'm tired at 7 years, that's for sure.
What? Of what?
I'm like physically tired. I'm not tired of you.
Okay. You shouldn't be. We're supposed to still be having fun.
We're having a blast. How do you keep me accountable? What was the question?
I tell you not to be fat. No, I tell you that you should do it for your own health.
Oh my gosh. We use tough love, okay?
Yeah, we do.
We do use a little bit of tough love, but we also have the understanding that of the importance for the other person, meaning that if Sue would rather spend the evening with me and spend time hanging out, whatever, but I haven't worked out yet. She knows that for my mental health, it's going to be better for me to go work out, and she's not going to take it as a slight to her.
Or make you feel guilty for like not spending time. I'm going to be like, hey, you should probably go work out, and then we can hang out after.
Yes.
So it's a lot of encouragement, truly, and understanding what it looks like, and knowing also if I'm really busy in the day and it's something where like I'm not sure if I'm going to have time for a walk, you'll even be like, hey, is there something that I can do so that you can go on a walk? Or even on Sunday, you knew you needed to go on a walk, but you didn't want to go outside because it was freezing. And I was like, all right, if you're not going to go, I'm going to go by myself. I'm just wanting to see if you're going to go so that I don't leave. And you wanted to go. And you were like, fine, like now I have to go. But it was something of like, I knew that I was going to go regardless, but I also knew that you wanted to go. And so that was going to help with accountability of like you to go and do that. But you do that too on like days where I'm like, oh, I wish I worked out today, but like now I don't want to, now that it's 7 p.m. where that's 100% not when I like to work out. You'll be like, well, let's just go in there together. And even if we're just in there for 30 minutes, then that's how we'll do it.
Yeah. I think picking up the slack for the other person where you can, I think is a big part of it. And just being encouraging when you can tell the person needs it. But then also giving them grace when they need it as well. And that just comes from understanding your partner, of being able to read and keeping somewhat of tabs on what's happened recently. Like if you've gone a few days without training, and I know that you've been wanting to train, but you haven't been able to get out there, like I'm going to bend over backwards to make sure that you get the opportunity to go out there and train.
Or even just asking like, hey, are you training today? Or like, oh, I didn't see it on your schedule. Or you're going to get a chance to get out there, just for that little extra encouragement to push that forward.
Yes. The thing that I would drive home so much is that the more that you can work together as teammates in a relationship, in a marriage, whatever you want to label it as, the more successful all of it's going to be. Like the better health that Sue is in, the better health that I'm in, the better health our relationship is going to have. And so I think that continuing to uplift each other and working together as a team is the best way to make it all work, and the accountability that's necessary. And if a little bit of tough love of you don't want to be fat, do you? is it can work from time to time, you know?
But it's something where it's obviously Alex has never been like, hey,
I'm not saying it in a hateful way.
Yeah, we're like joking. But like there's never been a time that Alex is like, hey, you've gained a little bit extra weight. Don't you want to like get that off? Like he doesn't say it in that way. But it is something where I know I appreciate when he works on himself and his body. And then he is going to also appreciate. So while he's never going to actually say, hey, Sue, you're fat, it is going to be something semi-unspoken of like, I like it when you show up for yourself, and then I like the same. And that's something where like self-respect and self-love is hot. And so that's also going to help our relationship and our fitness goals, is just being able to have that of like, I want to look good for you, even though you would be fine if I was wearing a trash bag and had 20 extra pounds on my body. I want to look good for you. I want to feel confident in being able to be in front of you without my clothes on. And that's something that we also push forward for each other.
So I would also add to it that like if you want something done around the house, or you want, to improve your, the food that you guys are consuming as a couple, or to work out more, like you taking the initiative to do those things first, your partner is likely to follow in those steps. I had a client today actually speaking about how her husband, who had zero interest in working out, zero interest in not drinking alcohol, all these different things. And as her and I have worked together over the last 4 months, her husband has no longer drinking throughout the week. They were drinking almost every night when she had come to me. It was like their thing to make specialty drinks and have drinks each night. And as she's cut that out to take better care of her health, to take better care of her sleep and getting to bed on time, now he's following in that. Now it's taken 3 or 4 months for him to watch her, but he's seeing the improvements in her mood, her energy, how she's looking, how she's feeling, her confidence. And he's following that. And now he's going to the gym when he was not going to the gym at all when we first started working together. And so by being the example, and it not being something where she was roasting her husband for like, look what I'm doing and look what you're doing. Do you see what you've got going on? Look how amazing I am. And this is what that's not what she was doing. She simply was taking the action of the thing that was most important to her and stayed 10 toes down on those decisions as they went through Thanksgiving, as they went through Christmas, as they went to New Year's Eve. And she stayed with what was her priority. And he continued to watch that and say, okay, if she can do this, like I can at least do a fraction of it and feel better myself. And so be the example of what you want to see for your partner as well.
And now at this point, there's only certain foods in the house and only certain things that Alex can have. And he knows I'm going to go on the walk anyway, so might as well join me.
Exactly.
All right, coming to an end here. If you had to predict one big fitness trend for 2025, what would it be?
I think we're going to find a nice median between the body positivity and the over crazy work, like the CT Fletchers and then the super body positivity that we are kind of coming out of. I think we're going to find a middle ground in between that, and people are going to have I saw something trending this morning actually of like Project 66. Have you seen that? Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm mislabeling it. It is a girl who has kind of taken the foundation of 75 hard, like kind of having that same thing, but it's more like this is what you do for the long haul. Drinking water, doing all these.
The trend's going to be sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability more than anything.
That's the trend that we be taking.
That's
for
right.
The past 10 years.
Yep.
People finally catching up with us.
Exactly. Sustainability is the trend in 2025, I hope.
I feel like other fitness trends are going to be doing like high rocks competitions and like triathlons and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but is that more of just our age?
I think that it's a trend right now.
But I also think that as people get into their 30s, they start to get into half marathons.
Not me.
I mean, I would say more majority. Are you the majority?
Yeah.
Wow. You're the norm. You're the average. Is that what you're saying?
That's me.
That is not true at all.
I think that you seeing that your friends around that age are doing it, and then you're saying the majority.
Oh my gosh, I have like 3 friends in total.
Yeah, and that's the ones that you're talking to, and then you're like, majority.
Oh, whatever. All right. So your trend is
like
high rocks.
High rocks and like fitness competitions, like not like bodybuilding competitions, like other things like that.
Do we think bodybuilding is dying off?
I don't know.
Do you think that this new division is going to be helpful?
I think that it's just more confusing because they say they want one thing, the judges don't actually want that thing, and then the divisions just keep evolving. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it's dying off. I think maybe popularity is different. I'm so curious to see what happens as Bumstead takes his steps away and is no longer a part of it, because I think he is the face of bodybuilding. So I'm curious of who's able to step into that role, or if anyone can even partially fill those shoes to keep the engine going.
We'll see.
We will see.
All right, last question. What is your favorite part about starting a new year as a coach, and what excites you most about 2025? All
right, I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret from a coaching standpoint.
You've created a monster.
I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret from a fitness coach. October, November, and December, super hard months from a coaching standpoint, because a majority of people are struggling during this period. They also are distracted during this period, and mentality is at generally an all-time low looking at the entirety of the year. And so you're kind of pulling teeth to a degree throughout that entire time frame. And people have a lot of excuses to be like, well, I can prioritize this over my fitness at this time. And so I'm going to step away, and then I'm going to come back in January, February, March, whatever. And so those 3 months are just hard to work through as a coach. And I've gotten better at it each year, but I still don't think that I handle it all that great. Because of how much time I devote to coaching for the last 10 years of my life, it's very hard for me to not take things personally. I do my absolute best. And again, I'm far better than I used to be with it. I have room to still improve. But it's difficult for me to invest so much into each person. And then for instances like what transpires around the holidays, for people just to like throw in the towel and give up on so much hard work and just, throw it to the wayside is demoralizing for me and to do it on a 4, 5, 6 day of my week basis and having to like pick people up constantly is very, it takes a lot of energy out of me. Yeah. And so as we get into the new year and people's mentalities start to get into a better position, their schedules get a little bit more routine and it's just a breath of fresh air. So I get really excited. I get charged up from the opportunity that comes with January, February, and March. And so I get excited for sure.
What excites you most about 2025?
What excites me the most about 2025 from a coaching standpoint?
Sure.
Okay. I'm excited for all that we're offering this year. There's a lot of big goals that I have had on the horizon that I think are going to be able to come to fruition over this year. And we're going to be setting the stage more for what is possible in 2026. And I think the education that we're offering throughout the year of utilizing the webinars and being able to teach in that capacity is something I'm so excited about. So yeah, a lot of things.
Awesome. I'm also very excited about the webinars, and I'm in the same boat of like the last 25%, which it's crazy to think that like that's 25% of the year that people are kind of just coasting or clawing through. But it is a hard time, and to motivate people and motivate yourself. And it's also just a hard time personally for us. And so that's something that I feel like, especially in 2024, there's obviously a lot of growth, like professionally, and a lot of things that happened. But I feel like stepping into 2025, I feel just in a better spot to have the things come to fruition that I want to within the business. And so I know that's not specifically of like starting as a coach, but that is something that I am very excited for going into 2025.
Yes. And we'll speak briefly on this. And I struggle with even bringing this up anymore because I feel like we've talked about it so much, not a ton on the podcast, but within our own time of navigating through the passing of your dad and the grieving process that was, or continues to be, I should say. Mm-hmm. In my head, when it all transpired, I held myself to a standard that it was like, I need to get over this and I need to move forward as quickly as possible. And that just didn't happen. You don't just get to will your way into working through grief. And so I now feel like my brain is in a spot where I have clarity, where I'm not in this, I don't want to use the word depression because I don't know. It's a lot to kind of dig through, but I feel in a emotionally stable position, in a mentally clear position that I did not have at the beginning of 2024 by any stretch of the imagination. Getting to the point of a year past his passing was a bigger milestone in my head than I thought prior to it. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but as we got around to it, it felt really significant as we were leading up to it. And then it was almost like this relief when we got past it, I feel like. And so that was helpful for me, but that's something going into 2025 that is certainly different than what it was the year prior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have so many thoughts on it, so I don't know if I can get into it right now, but it still doesn't even feel like it's been a year. Just timeline of the past 2 years have felt like it's like just meshed all together. So I am in a better spot, obviously, but It is what it is. It'd be like that sometimes. But I'm very grateful to have had you through this. And I'm honestly very grateful for work. I know that work isn't always the best coping mechanism, but it's something where pouring myself into something that I have such passion for and such belief in was a very positive coping mechanism for me, because it was something where I wasn't just casting myself aside like I have in the past. While I was working a lot, I was still taking care of myself in the ways that I could. And then I was working for a vision, a mission, a brand, a company, and people that I just believe in so wholeheartedly. And so that made it very doable for me.
Amen. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Happy New Year. Happy 200th episode.
Woohoo.
We did it. We'll catch you in the next one.